Hello, 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 and welcome everybody. It's Friday. It's almost time for the weekend. Yay!
Yay!
So this is Friday with Fran. Fran and I are good buddies. We get together once a week, and of course now my phone goes to sleep. And we just talk about things related to special education and having children with special needs. So I'm hoping that we are streaming in all the places that we're supposed to be streaming. Fran and I both have multiple monitors up, and we're checking things to make sure that everything. YouTube is working? Okay, because I can't find it. I'm just on my home screen there. Oh, it does say that it's live. For some reason, it's not showing it to me. All right, well, YouTube is working. Oh, and we're on the page. So the Facebook page is working. And then we're also streaming. I started a group a couple of weeks ago called No Limits, Changing the World's Perspective of Special Needs Through IEPs. So if you're on Facebook and you would like to join that group, please hop on over there. If you have forgotten the name, just comment and I will let you know. Hey, Alex. Alex is joining us. Alex is one of our main people who joins us every week and who we are so thankful for because she gives us great insights.
Hold on a second.
One of us is talking.
Yeah, it's me here.
All right, I was saying, I thought I had all my volumes off.
Yeah, it was me. Sorry.
So
it was I.
So the fun thing about Fran and I is we're very casual. If you've been with us before, this is not a formal show. This is literally like we are welcoming you into our conversation between our homes. And we'd like to have
and I'm remote this time.
Right, and she's even at someone else's home this time. So yeah, we say silly things happen, and that's okay because Fran and I are both very casual, calm people for the most part, and
well, my friends might beg to differ on the calm part.
I said for the most part. Okay. I don't think I'm ever. I mean, I'm calm, but I don't know. What am I? Casual, and I was trying to stick with alliteration. That's also
casual and concentrated, and
that makes me think of the orange juice concentrates. So I'm compact.
well, you have a lot packed within you that's ready to burst forth. So it's okay to be concentrated. That's the concentrated about which I was referring, really.
Oh, I
my goodness, my hair looks scary today.
Well, I'm actually just really pleased that my cheeks and my face aren't so red because I took Jonas. I was looking for him because I can't say the word, but for a WALK.
Yeah.
And so it's a little chilly, and so my face was red and cold, but it looks like I'm all back to normal color now. So,
and my hair is doing weird things. I'm just gonna go with it. Sorry,
that's
people.
All right. That's all right. So if you're joining us, we would love it if you would say hi or I'm here or hashtag Friday with Fran, or help us come up with a hashtag for the Friday with Fran series, because my other series is called hashtag No Limits. So I have a hashtag for that. This one, we don't have one. So if you have an idea of what we could hashtag, and then also, I just wanted to explain for anybody who hasn't been here with us the last couple of times, I've been taking a class about how Facebook reaches out to people on my behalf. And so the more comments it gets, the more shares it gets, the more likes it gets, the more subscribes the YouTube channel gets. That's all things that will help this information be seen by more people. While we love the group that we have had for pretty consistently here on Friday with Fran, we both feel that what we are talking about are things that are probably not just on the minds of Fran and I, but on a lot of other people who are raising children with special needs. And so we want this to reach as many people as it can. So the more you share it, the more ways that you interact with us and the video, the better that's going to happen. So with that said, and all my other stuff that I've been saying, hi, Fran.
Hi.
Sure, Alex, you can say balance. it'll help balance things. Well, we want the balance to be tipped though in our favor for this, because we want it to go out. So so we don't want complete balance. But I get what you're saying, Alex, and I so appreciate that. So Fran, how are you today?
I am. I'm kind of everywhere. And so for those that don't know, I don't even remember if we talk about it much, that I have a weird sleep schedule. Do we talk about it ever?
I don't know. I think it's interspersed in conversations, but I don't think we've ever really focused on it.
really talked much on it. However, so I get most of what I do accomplished while most people are sleeping. Mm-hmm. So in the middle of the night, I always start my awake time for the day, even though it's the night, doing my devotional, spending time with the Lord. And then I was on Facebook. Facebook's kind of like it's this black hole sometimes. It like sucks you in and you can't get out. And then all of a sudden you realize, oh my goodness gracious, it's gone around the clock a gazillion times. But so I belong to a few different support pages or groups, or I don't know, they're support pages. They're just groups where support can be offered and information. And one of them was discussing guardianship. And it kind of got me riled up. So I don't know how much we want to talk about it, but there's a really big push right now that people that take guardianship over their children, their loved ones, are trying to take away their rights. They're trying to take their assets. They're trying to micromanage their life. They're going to abuse them. And so, it's just like, it's turned into this very negative thing. And it really hurt me to read some of these posts that some of these parents are going through, because I do have guardianship of both of my children, because they cannot make wise choices. They cannot safely navigate this crazy world. I can't even navigate this crazy world well. So I want to give them the best opportunities possible. So it really saddened me that there's this huge push right now, telling parents, no, you can't do that, and then telling our children, our adult children, that they shouldn't be.
Right.
Because the whole guardianship process in and of itself isn't really even, it's not a pleasant experience for anyone involved. It's quite costly in most places. And I'm not just talking about monetary as well. I'm talking about the emotional drain, the mental drain. You have to gather all this paperwork. You have to get documentation. It's not something anyone can take lightly. So to throw it out there that someone that's pursuing guardianship of their loved one is doing it for their own benefit, that's just like a slap in the face, really. So as you can tell, I'm a little riled up about it. But
it's okay. Don't be calm today.
Huh?
I said that's okay. Don't be calm.
So my thought process on this today, when you text me and said, "Do you have anything?" Well, I was like, I don't know if I really should go down this black hole, this rabbit trail, whatever you want to call it, but we're going to go there.
Yeah.
And I'm not an expert. I want you to know I'm not an expert. I'm not a lawyer. I'm just speaking from experience and the experience of others with whom I've interacted.
Yes. And I'm glad that you brought up that you are not an expert. I am certainly not an expert, but I did put in the chat that on February 11th, that it would be this Thursday. By the time we do Friday with Fran, it'll be over. Next week, I am getting together with a lawyer from the Metro East area, and she's going to talk about guardianship, and she's going to talk about how to legally plan for your child before they turn 18, after they turn 18, and then in that unfortunate time when you may be no longer able to care for your child with special needs. It is a free event. You will need to register and sign up so that you can have the link, because it will be broadcast through YouTube, but it will be a private link. So you can't go out and find the link unless I give it to you. So if you're interested in that, make sure that you sign up for that. It's the whole event takes about 90 minutes. I'm going to talk about things related to the IEPs, and then Ashley's going to talk about the things related to more legal stuff. And so if you're watching today or in a replay of this from anywhere in the country, both Ashley and I will be talking from federal legislation. And so what we are going to say is that will be valid anywhere. So it isn't specific to Illinois or Missouri. I've done some like that before, where I've specifically worked with financial planners about special needs trusts and things. And then they were specific to the state where that financial planner was located. But with Ashley and myself, this time we can reach anybody in the country. I would say in the world, but I don't know what the rest of the world's laws are. So I can just speak to what we do here in the United States. So Fran, I honestly had no idea about guardianship until I had been teaching probably a dozen years. And so I was pretty much getting towards the end of my teaching career. And one of the families that I had worked with mentioned guardianship. And so I asked what that was about, and she started to tell me. And I was just saddened by the process. I understand the reason behind it. So I want to go back, if we can, to what you have to, like, kind of step by step as you went through it. So if you can remember with your son.
Because it was actually different with each of my children.
Right.
So with my son, he has Down syndrome. And so it was on the outward appearance much easier to determine that he did have unique and different needs and was going to need my assistance for the rest of his life, or someone's assistance to advocate and ensure that he has everything he needs and no one takes advantage of him. So the process starts with, you can do it yourself, and if you can find all the paperwork and you know how to fill it out, and it's uncontested, or you hire an attorney that specializes in it generally. And that's what I chose to do. Someone had recommended, and I was blessed in the fact that prior to doing this, since the kids were little, I had worked in a very large facility. Well, it's not large, but a facility that cared for people like Luke and like my daughter. And so I had an opportunity to see what happens if they don't have guardians that are family members, and then they have state guardians. So I did have that experience, and so I knew going in that I needed to do this, because otherwise, once my son turned, that age,
18.
Okay, yeah, that age, and once he, I would not be able to talk to his doctors. I would not be able to handle his finances. I would be locked out of his life. And as it is now, even sometimes I still have to go, hello, I have guardianship papers. And people are like, well, until he can verify and you send those papers. So I've had to literally put the phone to my son's ear and tell them, you have to tell him. And then they start asking him questions. And he's like, he looks at me and goes, no. And he hands the phone back. Well, what good is this?
Right.
So then I just have to end that conversation. Anyway, sorry, I diverged. But
that's okay.
The whole point was, I wanted to make sure that the transition went pretty quickly, and that there wasn't a lag time in where someone could take advantage of my son, or he could do something, say yes to something, without having a clue what he was saying yes.
Right. Now, before you go any further, I want to ask you, does he receive Social Security income? Is that what SSI stands for?
SSI?
Yeah.
Supplemental
Okay.
security.
Does he receive that?
Yes.
Okay. So sorry. I had an uncle who was ill this week, and I was just making sure that wasn't somebody that I needed to answer. So people, unfortunately, there are bad people in the world. And because Luke and Allie have income, somebody could take advantage of that by getting guardianship and using their monies to do not right things with. So I just want to make that as clear as possible to the audience, that I would like to think that everybody in the world would not do that, but there are people that have taken advantage of that, and that is why we have this kind of law now. Because if there hadn't been people abusing this, you wouldn't have to go through this situation.
Right.
Okay.
So yeah, but so I got an attorney, and she told me everything I needed, and I gathered it all. But then he needed an attorney. So now I'm paying for my attorney. He needs an attorney, because do you want to know what happens when you want to become the guardian of somebody? What? You are suing them.
Yeah.
And it's just like, I broke down in tears when I found that one out. I was just like, are you serious? I'm suing my son. Because through his entire educational process, I never focused on what he couldn't do. So here, all of a sudden, I have to focus on the fact that he can't do, and I have to put it for the forefront to everybody else, and I have to tell a courtroom of people that he can't do. I have to tell the judge that he can't do, and I have to go talk to an attorney I don't know, and then he has an attorney, and how do I know that attorney is going to represent him well? But I was blessed, or Luke was blessed, to have a wonderful guardian ad litem, otherwise called a gal, because I don't want to have to say that over and over. He was great. And I found out once we had met this attorney that he was very involved with a agency that does a lot of things in our area, has some workshops and things like that. He was part of that board, so he understood. So that did help. But the whole process, from start to finish, was probably for Luke about this many, maybe calendars.
Okay, 3 or 4 months. Okay.
And it wasn't contested, because I do have they do have a father, even my ex-husband. So there was no contest on who would be the guardian. And I also wanted to make sure, I tried to tie up as many loose ends as possible in the process. I wanted to put successors. Okay. So I'm his plenary guardian, which means that I'm guardian of both him and his estate.
Okay.
And then I have a line of successors, my parents and his brother. It goes. So there will never be a lack of care. There will never be a drop.
Yeah, that's good.
And so I need to make sure of that. Yes, sorry.
Yeah. So there's a couple of things that I wanted to say. So first of all, I have made my screen big today so that I don't have the glare, but I'm going to make it small again because Michael commented that, and hi, Michael, glad you're joining us today, that he thinks the gal would be a good guest. And I think he's right, because gals have a very different approach and they work with a lot of different people. And so I appreciate that recommendation. The second thing that I wanted to say is, and I didn't interrupt you before because I
know you can rein me in. It's okay.
No. I wanted you to finish your thought, but I lost my screen. You know how I said I'm watching it on my phone and on this and that. Right. So I had lost my screen, and because I have my camera screen big, so that there's not the big glare on my glasses, I had to get it back on my tablet so I could see the comments. So, but
yeah, I kind of did the same.
But what you said, you have to sue your child. Now, this is a loving relationship. You do not, when I think of litigation, I don't think I'm going to go file litigation against someone that I love. You know, when I think litigation, that's normally because someone has wronged me, or someone hasn't paid me, or we've been in a, some sort of an accident, and their insurance and my insurance are fighting it out. And I keep referring as if I've gone through these things. I have not, but just,
it's okay.
As examples, those, when I think litigation, when I think about suing someone, that's what I think, that it's contentious. And that's not the case with guardianship.
No. And it wasn't the case with my daughter, because I'm just going to skip a little bit ahead just to her in this process, because I didn't just say, Allison, I'm going to be your guardian. You have no choice in it. We talked about this long and hard. Allie, do you want me to be there for you, to represent you at medical appointments, and to help you with your paying bills? And this is the funny thing. I asked her, I said, do you want me to help you pay bills? And she goes, why would I want you to help me make a law? They do that in the Senate and the House. Can you tell where she was in her schooling at that point?
Yeah.
And so I was just like, no, not those kind of bills. The bills that you pay for your phone, the bills you pay for.
Right.
Because, oh, yeah, I don't know how to do that, Mom. I'm like, okay, well. So I did have to, but I did talk to her about it, and we've talked long and hard about it. And you can always release it, and I could have become guardian over only her or her estate. But she says, no, Mom, go ahead. And with my daughter, she actually has a co-guardian, because I'd had some health issues when it was time to become her guardian. And so I was blessed to have someone that would come alongside of us and walk this journey out with us. So Allie has a co-guardian, and it makes my heart full of joy. So
yeah, I bet.
But to know that she's cared for, even in the midst of my different abilities now.
Right. And I just want to parallel my situation in the sense of, my daughter is 21. When she turned 18, I didn't have to go through any of this stuff. The only thing that is kind of comparable is when she went off to college, she had to sign, I guess, a waiver basically for me to be able to look at her grades and have access to her financial records and her class schedule and all that stuff. But otherwise, I mean, she, and I would say, probably all other 18-year-olds outside of someone like Allie or Luke, when they turn 18, we go, oh yeah, you're an adult now, but most parents don't just say, okay, kick them out the door. I mean, we're not like birds. We don't just kick them out of the nest and say, well, fly, and hopefully it works. I mean, we're still walking beside Violet, and, if she needs something explained, or if she, wants to take out a loan, or apply for a credit card, or buy a house, or buy a car, whatever, we can still walk alongside of her and advise her on those things. And we don't have to do anything special, because she can communicate to us, and her ability level is such that she has a decent understanding of what's going on.
Right.
So you have to do these things in order to protect your children. Even though your children are adults, you still have to.
They'll always be my babies. Yeah.
Right. Exactly. My mom, who's in her 70s, was telling me that just yesterday. She's like, you'll always be my baby. It doesn't matter how old you are. I'm like, but I'm 50. She's like, it doesn't matter.
You're still her baby, and you will be, and she will still think of all the times that she carried you around. And
I know.
But okay, so I was just thinking of something.
Uh-huh.
It was like a chipmunk just ran right through as you were talking, but it ties into this, and it actually ties into quite a few things. I have to ask you a question. Once you learned about guardianship from that parent, did you mention it to parents as their children were hitting that transition age? Because,
yes, I did.
Like my son's teacher, she didn't know much about it either. And so I mentioned it to her, and then she started bringing it up during IEPs with other parents, she told me. And I know that some other educators that that work in the special education realm, I know that because of this, they also, during IEP meetings, as the students are approaching this age, they let parents know. But if you weren't aware of it, I mean, if you had not been personally impacted by it, would you have done that? I mean, is it even covered in schooling?
If it was taught to me when I went through college to get my degree, I don't remember it. It's possible, but because it's outside of the realm of the IEP and what the IEP is required to do, like I said, it may have just been a brief discussion in one class, but yeah. And also for me, because I only taught up to before they get into high school, I hadn't had any, it was after my students had left, and I thankfully had relationships with their families, and we kept in contact, and I kind of always kept an eye on my students and my kids that they were telling me about this. And then when I started interviewing families that are in the book, I made sure, for the ones who were younger, hey, by the way, these families have had to go through this. This might be something on your horizon that you want to be cognizant of. And then hearing the different stories, the story of James in the book, his mom, he's in his 30s now, and she would always, the way hers was set up, she has to file something every year.
That is, yeah, you're supposed to.
But now I've talked to some other parents who have said, no, we set it up and it was once and done, and they've talked to their lawyers.
Well,
so this is where
okay, I don't have to file. I don't have to file for guardianship every year, but I do have to submit something stating the gist of what I did with their finances or something like that.
Okay. And
so I'm not refiling for it. Once I have it, it's done.
Right.
Per se. And don't for Michael commented something you might want to share.
I'm just gonna have to I'm gonna have to go and get the glare on my glasses, because I want these to show up on wherever people are watching. So it's never too early to plan for this. Hannah was only 7, and we were thinking about this very subject. So first of all, kudos to you and Deb that you even knew about it. Because as Fran and I are saying, that's not necessarily something that educators are familiar with, and therefore might mention to you. So good to you guys for knowing about it. But yeah, no, you're not a pain, Mike.
We like your participation. And remember, the more comments, the better.
Right. 1 word every comment is perfect. No, I'm just kidding. Please don't do that.
No, he did letters last time, remember?
I know he did. But yeah, it is. It's, and that's why we do what we're doing, Fran. Wouldn't you agree that we are trying to educate and help people not have the same pitfalls or have any pitfalls?
It's called, let's not reinvent the wheel if we don't have to.
Right.
And because
sorry, Alex just said comment.
I have a bunch of wheels. I have a bunch of wheelchairs, and some of my wheelchairs have extra wheels, so I don't need any more wheels, and I don't want to invent any more wheels. I believe in taking advantage of those who have gone before us and learn and picking their brains. I have no shame in going, I don't know. Could you please explain it to me? Or I'm lost. Could you please help me? And so I'd like to tie it back into what got me all riled up to originally start this whole process was the group in which I'm a part on Facebook. There's so many groups for parents or special needs kids, but there aren't a lot of groups of parents that are parenting older and adult children. Mm-hmm. So this was the only group I think I found, and it's but it just seems to be a recurring theme right now, this guardianship. And then there's a state that recently just put out a video saying guardianship isn't necessary.
Oh, really?
And that not everyone should have a guardian, and it's better, to do power of attorney for medical and power of attorney for financial. What they fail to say is power of attorneys only go into effect if that person is deemed incapable.
Right.
Okay, so if that person says they're capable, the only way you can deem them incapable is to take them somewhere, and then you're back where you started with the guardianship. So it's kind of
right.
Anyway, I'm just gonna
that's a good
let that one go. So there's a lot of but I realized why they're doing it, and that's what got me even more riled up. This is definitely not a calm day. I'm just telling you, this is not a calm day. Why are they doing it?
Yeah,
because then it provides jobs for government agencies and for these, a lot of them is even not-for-profit agencies that then can be their advocates.
Oh.
So you're taking the control, or not control, the advocacy. That's what it is, the advocacy from people that know their loved ones, that have been around them since birth, that have poured blood, sweat, and tears, sometimes literally all of the above, into these people, and you're giving it to strangers who know better for them.
Right. Or can make better decisions. Yeah.
Right. And so that I think that was what was the straw that broke the camel's back. I mean, in the middle of the night, I was just like, okay. And I know you can't change opinions on Facebook. I know that it's foolish, but I just prayed. I was like, okay, God, how do I comment to this poor woman who is going through such an emotional ordeal right now? And I just typed something out, and then I just left it. And then, so when you text me, I was like, do we really want to go down this? But we did.
Yeah. And I think it's important because, as I said before, it isn't something that I think is well known. Now that you're telling me that there's a state, putting out a video saying, oh, you don't need to do this, then that adds confusion. Well, do I or don't I? And, and I know you didn't plan this to be a big promotion for this workshop that I have coming up, but I mean, that's perfect. That's absolutely perfect. I mean, I'm going to have, a lawyer. We're working on this together, and she'll be able to answer these questions. And you're not going to be getting it from, yeah, we're not going to be getting it from Shelley or Fran, who don't know what we're talking about. I mean, we both, Fran more so than I, have experience with it, but we don't know the law.
Nope.
So, and I almost put this in an advertisement earlier, like, how often do you get a lawyer to sit down and you can ask questions and it's free? So it happens occasionally, but usually for the amount of time that she's going to be with us, it would be several $100s. And that would be just, that person. And she's going to reach out to however many people join us on that evening. So make sure that you get a chance to do that. And the link is, so yeah, Michael, it is a vicious cycle. And here is the link.
Yes.
vicious circle, sorry. So here's the link. It is in the chat, both on YouTube and Facebook. It should be there. So no matter where you're watching, you should just be able to click on it. I don't think it's going to pop up in the Facebook group, but I'll leave it up here a little bit so you can copy it down. Or if you, excuse me, sorry, if you want it, you can go to Eventbrite and you can type in Shelley Kino and it'll pull this up. Or you can reach out to me and I will be happy to get that to you. So I haven't read this yet. Because someone has the education to make decisions doesn't mean they have the best knowledge to make them. Loved ones know the person the best, usually. And usually, I will tag on to that, have the person's best interest at heart. Because they've been with them, because they've had all those experiences with them. Sometimes, though, there are those people who don't. And again,
and that's it. The beauty of this is there are checks and balances.
Like what?
You have to go before a judge. There is the guardian ad litem who is looking out for the best interests of the adult child. So it is not a matter of, I just gathered all my paperwork and just went in, here you go, thank you, sign that, goodbye, I'm your guardian.
Right.
No, there was a lengthy process. And then for my daughter, oh my goodness gracious, it was even lengthier because I did want a co-guardian because I wanted to make sure that if for some reason my health continued to do its wonky thing, that there was not going to be a gap in coverage. And there was always going to be somebody that would be having Allison's back.
Right.
And this person, I mean, yeah, they love her just like their mom. So why I don't have any concerns. Does that make sense? And then there's successors following as well. So even if something were to happen to that person, there's more people.
Right. And it is, hi, Angel. Glad you're joining us. There is a lot to think about and plan out, but the peace of mind that must come with that thinking and planning, I would think would be worth it.
Yes. And much like Michael, since my children were born, I've been planning for their future. I'm still planning continually. But I mean, I was, yes, the plans changed. And which brings me, this is one of my most favorite scriptures, so I have to share it. Many are man's plans, but the Lord's purpose prevails.
Right.
That's one of gazillion of them. But so I had, I planned. But my plans didn't even happen because I always thought my son would live at home with me for the rest of his life. And that he would, because, I'm all knowing, he would pass away. He would pass away before me so that then I never had to worry about anyone ever having to care following my passing away.
Right.
Well, life does its thing. And now my son lives in a group home. And it doesn't make me a failure because that's another thing that I've had to, in this group about which I've spoken a few times now, people stigmatize parents who choose to put their loved one in a group home or a large facility.
Yeah. And I probably was one of those people at one time in my life because I did not understand. And I am thankful that the Lord and all of the people that he has put in my path have opened my eyes, because it is an individual family situation and it's not for anyone on the outside to decide. Because I don't know what goes on in your house every day. I don't walk in your shoes every minute.
I don't walk in my shoes either most of the time. Sorry. I'm sorry. Okay.
That's okay. But when I interviewed the families for the book, there's one family, James, and the things that his family went through were heart-wrenching.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know that I would have made any different decisions if I would have been in that mom's shoes. But sitting on the outside, and she said people thought that she was taking the easy road by sending her son to a residential facility when he was 11 or 12 years old. And that residential facility was 8 hours away, this many hours away by car. And people were like, oh, that was, you're just doing that because you want to have more time for you. No.
Yeah.
No, not at all. And yes, Alex. So yeah, Michael says plans need to be flexible. And Alex says, it's a long, hard process, but well worth the time in the end. Peace knowing your loved one is going to be taken care of. So Fran, I have a question for you. This was a question that I asked every family that's in the book. And for anyone who's watching, I think I mentioned the name of it, but in case I haven't, the name of the book is Those Who Can't Teach. It is available through my website and Amazon, and you're supposed to be able to buy it at your local bookstore. You'll just have to have them order it. I asked them what their biggest fear was. And almost every one of them had the same answer or something very similar. So what is you? Now I'm going to ask you the question. What is your biggest fear for your children?
That someone's going to hurt them. And I'm not someone, there's not going to be someone around to advocate for them in the process.
Yeah. And that is very similar to the answer that I received often, which was, who's going to take care of them when I'm not here? Or when I can't?
My fear isn't as much now. It probably was prior to the guardianship.
Right.
But I know that I have a line of that each child has at least this many following me. So.
Right.
So probably my answer would have been.
Yeah. And that's, I mean, most of the, I want to say most, but I don't know. It's kind of evenly split, I think, as to people in the book whose children have turned 18 and who haven't. But yeah, I mean, of course, I know that Violet will be sad, or at least I hope she will be sad when Kevin and I aren't here anymore. I know she will. But I don't have that burden on my shoulders like you have of lining up. I did before she was 18. I mean, we did have a will. We did have, if we were to pass away before she turned 18, who would take over her care until she turned 18. But then after that, it's not a concern like it is for you.
And I have to throw something out there, though. I'm still alive, yet I still couldn't protect him because I just got a packet in the mail. It's about that thick. Can you see that?
Yeah.
Yeah. It was a report from OIG, which is the Office of Inspector General, which does investigations into group homes versus if he was in a larger facility. And another DHS does that then. And there was allegations that he had been abused. And I was just like, I was unable to protect him. And it just really just like, it sent me in kind of a tailspin for a bit. And I had to realize that I can only do so much. And then I just have to trust that God's going to protect him and that whatever he goes through, that it's just part of, he's going to grow through it and be stronger through it.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's what James's mom said, that her son does live in a group home and he did live in a residential home. And that was a fear then. He's so far away. He is verbal, similarly to Luke. I mean, you don't always understand every word that he's saying, and he doesn't always get all the situations correct as he's explaining them. But for that fear. And then I think that even gets even stronger when you have a child who doesn't speak. And you're not sure, yeah, they can communicate, but you're not exactly sure that what you're understanding is truly what they're communicating sometimes. And sadly, people with special needs have a higher risk of being abused.
Right. And I'm reading Michael's right here. Biggest fear is the caregiver after us would not do the job that is acceptable to Deb and I. And I get it. I really get it. And I look even, okay, so I worked in a large facility. And I thought I was giving compassionate, loving care sometimes. And I really did. I love these people. They became my family. My heart still yearns to see them. And right now, everyone's locked out of these facilities, and families can't even see them. Real family, blood family can't see these people. It's been we're approaching the anniversary since we've all been locked out.
Right.
But I did the best I could, Michael, for these people, but I'm sure I missed some of their cues, their wants, because I hadn't been with them since birth. But all I could do was love them as if they were my own family and care for them as I would hope that my children would be cared for.
Yeah. And Alex says she knows how hard the decision was for you to make, and it really ended up being the best for everyone, and he's doing well overall. And that's a point, and I appreciate you saying that, Alex, because that's a point that I don't think can be hammered enough, this is not an easy choice. People have these very bizarre thoughts of, it's just easy to do this. I've known families whose children have had to go through multiple surgeries, and people have this thought that, oh, it's just another surgery for them. It's no big deal. That's beyond ridiculous, because of course it's a big deal. It's your child. Every single time, it's still your child. And you don't know how they're going to come out of the anesthesia, if they're going to come out of it. You don't know, if there's pros and cons, and again, sorry, going back to the book, I'm thinking about the couple of families in there that they truly had to weigh the pros and cons and decide if what they thought were pros were really going to be pros. Because we're doing surgery now and we're causing pain now to prevent potential future pain.
And there's no crystal ball to tell you if that's going to happen, if it will be successful.
Right.
And was the right decision.
Right. And that's, I really want people to understand that. I mean, I've made tough decisions in my life, but I feel like most of the time people understood that I was having to make a tough decision, that it was something that was difficult for me. But I think sometimes, for whatever reason, we don't extend that same grace to to those who are doing things that we don't understand. And I really do. I think that's really what it comes down to, is that so many people don't understand what it is like to be in your shoes. And so I'm hoping that with this program, with my book, with the hashtag No Limits, with the Facebook group, that I can start to enlighten people and start to help others have their perspective changed faster than what mine was changed. But even if it's not faster, if it gets changed, that's the most important part to me. Because it's not good the way it is right now.
No, and I think this is just kind of like just a little microcosm of the whole problem in the world. Is there's so much education that needs to occur about things, and there are only so many people that are standing up to educate in those areas that are lacking, or the education that is out there is outdated or skewed.
And there's maybe what we're saying is skewed and we don't realize it. So my suggestion would be, do your research. You know, don't just take what we're saying, you know, especially like with the guardianship, you know, versus the
definitely.
attorney
And that's what
versus,
I mean,
you know, but if you're in that situation, or if you have a child and you're going to be in that situation, you know, no matter what state you're in, check it out. You know, reach out.
And some of the states are different. All the states are like, some states have conservatorships rather than guardianships. And then some you have to literally every, all the calendars redo it. And it's just like, because it's a money thing.
Right.
How can it not be a money thing at that point? But I mean, but if my daughter, I'm going to throw it out there. If my daughter had been able to, or said, no, Mom, I don't want you to be my guardian, I'd be like, okay, well, can I be your POA for the medical part so that I can go to your doctor's appointments? Because I just wanted the best for her, and I wanted to be able to help her. And I knew that without that, they wouldn't even talk to me.
Right.
So I knew I needed something in that form or fashion. But she chose. She was like, yeah, you can do that. So.
Right. And again, it gets back to, you know, my experiences compared to your experiences are, you know, Violet goes to the doctor now on her own. And I know that what she and the doctor are talking about is her private stuff. And I don't need to know that, because I know Violet will understand it and can communicate what her wants and needs, and, you know, how she's feeling of, you know, in her situation, whatever it might be that she's going through. You don't have that same assurance. So you have to go through a whole procedure, a whole process.
And I have given Allison the opportunity to go in by herself if she would prefer, to multiple doctors. You can go in if you'd like. Oh, no, come on, Mom. Come on, Mom. And half the time, but then it's a matter of she just sits there and doesn't talk and wants me to talk. And I'm like, no, you talk, you communicate. And thankfully, she has wonderful medical providers that can get her to share.
Right. But I bring that up because I want people to get that, you know, that you're not trying to control what's happening to her in the sense of you're a control freak. You're trying to control what's happening because maybe she would get in that room and not say anything, even if you weren't in there. And then what would happen? You know?
And she has actually. She's done that.
Yeah. I mean, I want people to understand and just try to take a step back and not think about your own child who's quote unquote typically or normally developed, whatever that means. But what it would be like, you know, if your child was nonverbal, or your child was verbal, but didn't always understand everything, or wasn't comfortable talking to people that they didn't know well, or, you know, maybe didn't have the knowledge, or know to share that knowledge of previous history of health or finances, or, you know, whatever it might be. So Alex says, you are the only one who can make these types of decisions for yourself. Others just do not know all that is involved in the situation. And that is so very true, Alex. It is so very true. It is truly an individual situation. And I hope that anyone who is listening and watching, whether now or in the replay, that has come across from us, that we are not saying you have to do it the way that Fran did it. or you have to do it the way that Shelley says. That's not what we're doing. We want you to know,
to make an educated decision.
Yeah. Yep.
Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, that's perfect. That's absolutely perfect. So
thanks, Michael. I appreciate that. I am much more on the upswing.
Yes. She sounds a whole lot better. She really didn't have a voice to speak a couple of weeks ago when you took her place, Michael. So it's much nicer to have her back with her voice and everything pretty much normal. Again, whatever that means. So, Fran, we need to wrap up.
Okay.
So what's some parting advice that you would have in the guardianship?
All right. These are my words of wisdom to depart with. Ready?
Yep.
Do you. Do what you know in your heart is the best thing for your child. You have thought it out since the moment they were born. You have walked it out. You have borne it out. You have carried it out. Do you?
Yeah.
And
that's awesome.
You can only educate yourself so much. You can only second guess yourself so much. And then you just got to do it.
Yep. All right. Well, I'm not going to add anything to that, except I am Shelley Kino, education consultant and master IEP coach. If you have a child who's in school and they have special needs going through the special education process, and you want to level up that IEP and that whole situation, contact me. I am happy to look over your IEP. I am happy to help you understand that document. It's a legal document. And while I'm not a lawyer, I'm a former special ed teacher, and I understand a lot of that stuff, and I can point you to the law, and I can explain basically what those procedural rights and safeguards are that they hand you every time you have a meeting. I don't tell you anything that's not in there. So I would be happy to walk alongside of you. Reach out to me. You can go to my website. You can contact me through here. Here's my email address. So go ahead and contact me and let me know how I can help you. Again, Fran and I are just two friends who get together every Friday and we just chat. And so if there's something that you want us to chat about, let us know that. I put it on Fran almost every week. What are we going to talk about? What are we going to talk about? Occasionally I'll say, hey, can we talk about this? But for the most part, these are her experiences. So I don't want to talk about IEP things if you all don't really need to know information about IEP things. So I think Fran's experiences as a parent are much more relevant to what those of you who are watching probably need to know. So thank you to everyone who joined us today and who's joining us on the replay. And we will see you next Friday.